summer is winding down, and we only have 2 more weeks till school start. And this whole series is about back to school jitters. That's the theme of this month's webinar series. And I can imagine all the students, and if you have kids, how they might be anxious to start the new school year. Hopefully, some are excited, but we know there's a number of students who experience school anxiety. And so we will have a presentation about that presented by our own prevention consultant, Khadiza Kubra. I forgot to introduce myself again. My name is Cheryl Tolentino, and I'm the supervising prevention consultant for the NJ4S Union Hub. But you're not here to see me. You're here for Khadiza's presentation. And let me introduce you to Khadiza. Khadiza is a 25-year-old prevention consultant who grew up in Atlantic City, New Jersey, since she moved to the U.S. at age 10. She was born in Bangladesh, a country where many girls are not encouraged to have a professional career. When she moved to the United States, she worked towards breaking that cultural barrier of her community and pursue higher education. Khadiza completed her bachelor's in biological sciences and master's of public health in epidemiology, concentration from Rutgers University in New Brunswick. She's the first-generation college graduate, hoping to inspire other first-generation students to achieve success in education, career, and personal lives. So, without much further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Khadiza for her presentation on back-to-school anxiety. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Khadiza. I am a prevention consultant from NJ4S Union, and today we are talking about back-to-school anxiety. As we know, for New Jersey, we are starting school really probably the first week of September. So there's a lot of anxious parents, anxious students, teachers. So today we're touch base on a little bit about how to manage the back to school anxiety. So a little bit about us. We are NJ4S, New Jersey Statewide Student Support Services. We work toward addressing youth mental health crisis in our community, and we aim to support the youth and their families in both academic achievements and as well as the well-beings of individual students. On today's agenda, we'll talk about anxiety, of course. What is the back-to-school anxiety and the types of anxiety that students face, and some of the symptoms to look out for, and how to cope with the back-to-school anxiety, as well as the adult's role. Occasional anxiety, it is caused by stress or any uncertainty that you might have. For example, work deadlines, or speaking in front of public, or in this case, going back to school, that can cause a lot of anxiety in people. So it's when you're generally nervous about an outcome. Normal anxiety that can increase your heart rate, or your muscles start tensing, or you have like sweating problem, maybe sweaty palms. But it does sound a lot stressful, but good news is it is okay. It is occasional and it is short term. And symptoms, they usually go away once the stress factor subsides. So yeah, to reiterate about Bintu and Rachel was saying, yes, fear it's when we perceive something to be a threat to our immediate surroundings. So it protects us by responding like quickly to danger. So it's based on our 5 senses, which are like sound, sight, smell, touch, or taste. So when we are afraid, these senses, they work together in the scenario to like helps us make the decision whether to fight or to flight or freeze. So anxiety, on the other hand, like planning for the future, like, it's an emotion that takes place in results of what we could expect could happen. For example, like, taking like any final exam that could make me anxious, right? So like you think about like, would you pass the exam? How well you have to prepare for the exam, or like, what happens if you fail? Um, you think all the way to the future, like that is anxiety causing. So it is a stop reaction to the impulses created inside our body by the fear and other emotions like stress. So, going back to school anxiety, it is going back to school like after long summer break, and the transition that could make a lot of people feel anxious because like, your sleeping schedules being changed, and like big factors like COVID like we are still in the process of like unwinding from COVID. So going back to school post COVID for students, it could be anxiety driven. Like 66% of school age kids, they feel anxious about going back to school after COVID-19. Even though we're like 2 years into transitioning, it still can be difficult. Um, because we have like a learning learning from virtual to in person. It is you have to do a lot of unlearning to go back to in person and like follow through the strict routine, and it could affect everyone, like students, parents or guardians, even teachers and other staffs that can support like the students. It could affect anyone and everyone. So some of the types of anxiety students experience. Today I'll mostly talk about social and academic because so like for socially, you have, if you're going to a new school, let's say go from middle school to high school, that could be a big transition and that could be scary for a lot of people. Or going into new class, so like you have new setup, learning new things, or have like a new schedule that you have to get used to, that can cause a lot of anxiety. uh, you have like making new friends, like who are you going to sit with in class, or for lunch, if you're going to be by yourself or not. Like these are the things that students typically think about when they are starting back to school. So academically, like if you have new class, that would mean it's more homework or it's going to be more intense work. So if you have difficulty with schoolwork, how to deal with that, having to take tests that you don't know how the teacher is going to grade you. So like how do you prepare for that? Even joining sports or any other extracurricular activities, like having doubts about whether you're going to accomplish these goals. These are anxiety driven for students. So some of the symptoms that we can look out for, it like physically, it would be like constant complaint about like stomach aches or headaches, throwing up, or even like sweating. Or maybe the school year already started and the school or nurse or the teacher calls you to let you know that your kid is sick or not feeling well. Emotionally, they could be afraid of going back to school, meeting new people, or they could be worried about not meeting the academic expectation, or being irritable or sad about the summer ending. Behaviorally, like maybe they would refuse to go back to school, or they would skip or miss school. If they're children, they might throw temper tantrums or having crying spells from leaving home environment because they're so comfortable. Um, Sometimes they could like, make excuses and pretend to be sick and try to stay home. These are some behaviors that like some of the symptoms that we should look out for dealing with back to school anxiety. So, okay, how do you cope with back to school anxiety? So a week or two before the school starts, parents, guardians, they can like, sit with the students and like converse about their goals and expectations about the new school year. Like if someone's starting high school, maybe talk to them about like like, setting some goals like, hey, you cannot be playing video games all the time because you have to focus a little bit more on schoolwork now. um that could be it could be a tough conversation to have, right? But like, you have the not to be a helicopter parent, just to have let them know that you care about what they do in their academic setting, is important. And resuming your school year routine, so you can start having the sleeping schedule, realistic sleeping schedule, so you wake up around the same time as school. Making a list of items to purchase. If they have like uniform that is mandatory, maybe start purchasing them beforehand, not to procrastinate toward the end and like rush and get things done. Gradually expose the students to school related activities, maybe take them to open house or checking their schedule and what that would look like for them. And at last, like, you want to validate the student on their achievements and give them positive compliments, because that would take you so far. That would calm them down a little bit, and they would not be that stressed or anxious about school. So during the transitional period, this is when, like, school already started, like you're trying to get hang of things, and you're establishing a new routine that could be like, emphasize on getting proper sleep, and maybe like packing your things the night before so all the homework's in one place. um, Practicing relaxation techniques, like anything that would make them enjoy their stress-free or worry-free environment, like painting or riding a bike after school, playing with friends. One of the things we learned from strengthening families program is like my time, which is where you have 10 to 15 minutes of like one-on-one with the child, and they pick the activity, and during that the adults give no criticism or suggestions, and parents, they only say positive things during the activity, so that could increase the bond. And as well as eating dinner together, which is strongly encouraged by strengthening family program, to increase bond between family and friends, so that seeking support is easier, and you are around, you can rely on trusted individuals. So addressing specific concerns, if there's anything your child is worried or stressed about, maybe like homework seems difficult, or in need of additional assistance, maybe like staying after school is a good option. Forming a study group nowadays, technology is fast, so you can like do it virtually or like in person. Tutoring online, like YouTube has been literally the best teacher. Like, it's free, like Khan's Academy. It saved me personally from like stressful nights of like not understanding math homework. um so socially, maybe extracurricular activities are a good way to meet people. Let's say like if that they might have the same interest, like joining drama club or any sports, so that way you can hang out with friends outside of academic settings, and that gives you plenty of opportunities for social connection. And dealing with changes or any disruption, I mean, we are still post-COVID recovery era. So like we went from remote learning and not seeing people's faces to like, dealing and interacting with them. So that could be a lot on children or other students that are uh, going from like middle school to high school. So like this is a big change. So relearning how to adapt to that style again can be stressful. So you have to adapt to the new routine slowly and encourage some fun activities that they could do, and focus on their strengths and give them give them positive compliments, and making sure that they understand that you supporting them and they can rely back to you. They can rely on you on any difficult situations that they may come across. Um, okay. So learning and understanding the importance of like healthy lifestyle and practicing that could be beneficial in coping with back to school anxiety. Uh, there's a saying like when you eat good, you feel good, right? So not skipping breakfast or like any other meals of the day, limiting caffeine that could be helpful in daily function, healthy hygiene, like having a brushing teeth twice a day or showering, laundry etiquette, using deodorant, and these are the things that they will carry throughout their adulthood as well. So it's important that you establish that. Regular sleep, once again, like maintaining a sleeping routine, avoiding video games or any type of phone screen before going to sleep, that would be beneficial in coping with back to school anxiety. And so I want to talk about a little bit of the support system. So it is like any individual, a network of people that would provide the students with like practical or emotional support, like building around the idea of care for the student. So it could be anybody, like, you have family members, you have teachers, or you have coaches, any neighbors, or even like caregivers. Um, so some of the benefits from the support system that could include is connection, social connection, right? It could help students not feel isolated, and it could increase positive influence because when you are around good people and they encourage positive behavior. It could be a healthy distraction, right? When you are overwhelmed and you need a little break, the support system that could provide you some healthy distractions, maybe like, going for a walk or watching a movie or trying a new restaurant, that could be good distraction. And increasing resilience, right? So when you have a strong support system, stressful or difficult situation could be endurable. Because you can always fall back on your support system for encouragement. So that brings you to encouragement of trust, like having a support system that allows you to have open and honest communication that can encourage trust. So back to school, that could affect adults as well as children. So some of the adults that are involved, like parents or caregivers or um, any adults, students that are going back to school, or teachers. So parents, they have to switch their schedule around and trying to figure out how they can plan activities or help with homework. They can provide like transportation to and from school and other activities, or making sure that they're vaccinated or have their doctor's checkup already done before school or during school. Adult students, so like if you're going back to school after a long time, you might be rusting out a little bit academically. So like how do you retrain your mind to go back to school? That could be causing a lot of anxiety in adult students. Um, for teachers and educational staffs that are involved with, planning and preparing lessons, like, resetting your brain into academia could bring a lot of anxiety. So, like, you have a lot of classroom management or communicating with parents and caregivers for students that can be a lot for teachers or any other staffs that assist in the academia. So how do you deal with that as parents and caregivers? To deal with anxiety that you might feel about the new school year, think of all the positives. Focus on the positives, right? Children, they grow and they flourish when they are encouraged or they're engaged to do activities and learning new things. So this might be like a natural step for your children to becoming more independent, and that is the goal we have, right? Having a support system to finding others to discuss your any concerns you have, or online support group like Facebook groups, having open communication with your children. It's, discussing what with the children if they have any concerns, or like let them know that you're always there for them. Taking steps to reduce stress and anxiety. You can do anything that is that can relax you. Like you could bake, or you can have some mindful breathing exercises. You can dance or listen to music. You can read or write. Anything that relaxes you, you should step aside and do that for yourself as parents or caregivers, so that you have that healthy mindset going into back to school preparations. Adult students, right? I have talked to some of my colleagues at NJ4S who are going back to school this semester, and we discussed briefly about how they might feel about being an adult, working, and going back to school. It can be a lot, especially for those who have like some sort of academic gap, or they're going back to school. So one suggestion is taking a refresher course. You know, start with 1 or 2 courses to train your brain so that you're in that headspace. Connect with other students, people like people who previously took the course. Maybe ask them about like how was the class, and what is the load, so that you can kind of assume what you have to do and plan ahead. And you chat with the alums from your school who have like previously finished the curriculum. So ask them how long it took, or what was their experience with the program. That could be helpful. And you balance your work lifestyle. I know it's difficult because we are pulled in different directions, but you are one body. You have to take care of that, like having a planner to do or a to-do list, so that uh, you're not confused on what you need to do. You have a set plan to do things daily. Inform like your friends and families or workplace that you are going back to school, so you might have to take time off of that. You might not want to hang out all the time. You might want to do your projects or study. Take your time. Also take care of yourself. Make sure you're eating and sleeping properly, taking care of your you know emotional needs as well as adult students. So for teachers and educational staffs, I would say self-care is important. Um, you meet the basic health needs. So, getting enough sleep, eating healthy or exercise is important for you. Anything that it promotes self-care, you should you should do to relax yourself a little bit. Establish your boundaries. So have a start and end time for work, including office hours. And so you make sure you stick to that. Let's say you are staying 1 hour after school for office hours, then make sure you leave after that hour. Or communicate, like you have to update the parents regularly, so that there's no confusion on what the kids are doing in class. And communicate with the superiors about any concerns you might have, so they can better assist you. So to wrap up, I want to talk about today we discussed a little bit about back to school anxiety. It is a common experience among students. It is students because they have a lot of anxiety related to social or academic, but good thing is they are short term. So once school starts, people get back to schedule, it kind of slowly dies down, the anxiety. And we talked a little bit about the skills on how to cope with the anxiety, and having that support system to fall back on. as well as we talked about the adult experiences and how to take care of yourself when you're dealing with the situations like back to school anxiety.
Great and informative presentation. She provided a lot of tools and information that I'm hoping that can alleviate if some of you are experiencing some of these anxieties as caregivers, as adult students, or even if you're a youth student who's watching this presentation. She provided a lot of tools. So I'm hoping that if you enjoyed this presentation, you would provide us some feedback. I'm going to be uh, putting in the chat our survey regarding this presentation. And also our email. If you have any questions or concerns, if you feel that you as a student or you as a caregiver is having concerns about your student regarding anxiety or anything that revolves around your student's mental health, please feel free to email us because we are providing presentations. You can request these presentations in our schools. We have community presentations out wherever you're located in Union County. We are providing parenting workshops. We are providing staff development workshops. Uh, so feel free to hit us up, and we can even get those services into your school to help your student. But thank you for your time. And I'm hoping that you'll come back next Monday because the last series on our Back to School Jitters webinar series will be given by Jasmine Marcus on classroom culture and how to provide a productive and um, effective classroom where students can learn and build on their self-esteem. So thank you for joining us and hope to see you next week.